Hello and welcome to the Practical Leadership Podcast, where I interview great leaders and try to extract their wisdom and their experience for you to learn from and hopefully avoid making their mistakes. If you want to upgrade your leadership skills in 25 minutes, check out practical-leadership.academy. Today, my guest is Lucy Griffiths, entrepreneur, author, and founder of SortYourFuture.com. I'll ask her to introduce herself in a moment, but what we're going to be exploring today is how do you understand people? How do you really get to know them and meet them where they are? And she has the most straightforward, simple answer I've ever come across. Lucy Griffiths, thank you very much indeed for joining me today.
A pleasure. Really great to be here.
Could I ask you the very simplest of simple questions then? Who are you?
A good question. Are you asking me a question as, what is my career or who am I? If I had to answer who am I, then I would say I am a writer, a gardener, a sister, a daughter, a partner, all of those things. If it's my career, then you would say that I guess I would say I'm an educator, a writer, a co-founder. So I'm co-founder of an organization called SortYourFuture.com, which helps people figure out their career path and also connects them to employers and educational opportunities. I'm also co-founder of an organization called We Are Lucky, which is a place where I put interesting projects, those kind of side projects. So there's all sorts of things in there, like a children's book series that I've written, projects with the Wildlife Trust that I'm passionate about.
When you went through your co-founding experiences, when you went through your learning experiences as you set these companies up, as you built them out, you hired people in, how did you then educate yourself?
I've done lots of management courses and leadership courses. I've done an MBA, and that kind of formal learning can help you so much. It can take you so far and provide you with touchstones, if you like, in terms of ways of looking at things, lenses through which you might look at things. But I don't think there's any substitute for that personal experience and reflecting particularly on your own experience of being a recipient of management or leadership in particular. And that's where I think I've found the most valuable learnings. I've had experiences being managed that have been unpleasant or have been ineffective, and those that have been particularly good. And I think I've drawn more from those experiences than perhaps I have from any of the more formal learning that I've done.
There are probably quite a few victims of my early leadership experience attempts out there that I really have to find and apologise to. I'm so sorry for experimenting on you like some sort of random guinea pig. Yeah. So with that reflection then, either from your own experience of good or bad, or your own experience of being the one hopes good people manager, then what advice would you give to somebody else coming up and taking on that role?
It's easy to be quite rigid in thinking you have to apply a certain set of rules and approach managing people, leading people in the way that others say that you do. And I think what I've found is that actually listening to yourself and getting to know those people that you're working with can be far more effective. People are they're fragile, they are completely different and diverse in their ways that they will engage with you as a manager. And I don't think one hard and fast approach suits all. And so for me, it's that notion of get to know the people that you are working with and really seek to understand them rather than trying to perhaps impose a rigid set of approaches upon them. Because I think once you know who you've got around you and what they will respond to, then part of it is that kind of adaptation of your style to suit them, and understanding that you may have people with very, very different needs in your team, and that one style does not suit all in in how you deal with these complex individuals who will react differently to different approaches.
So meet people where they are.
A great manager I had, a man called Ian Whitehead, who I have huge amounts of respect for. His approach to management was always ask people how they want to be managed. One of the first things he asked me when I joined the company, and I thought that's a completely unexpected question that really put the power in my hands to be able to design, if you like, an experience of work that worked for me. I have taken that question forward with me into every experience that I've had, and it's something that I always ask: how would you like to be managed? And I find that I get different answers every time. You can't always do everything, but you can listen and shape and adapt to what you know somebody's going to respond to because they've told you.
Well, I think that's the answer to the how-to then, isn't it? I mean, if we're trying to meet people where they are, I think your answer then is, well, how do you do that? Ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. Ask the question.
Ask them. I love simple things like that. That's beautiful. I mean,
thank you, Ian.
So the trail of unknowing victims that we've both left behind in our learning experiences here. What mistake do you think you've made that you learned most from?
Oh, it's a great question because I've made many mistakes. I think I've expected people to think like me and be like me a bit more than is the case in the real world quite often. Yeah.
So what are you working on at present?
Well, the main project that I'm working on at the moment is SortYourFuture.com. Sort has helped around 800,000 people, mostly younger people, to figure out what are the next steps in their career journey over the last couple of years. And we work with people to help them find out about the things that they don't know about in terms of their future career path. You can't search for the things that you don't know exist. So our platform is there to help people access those opportunities that they might not otherwise have had access to by not having the right networks, right, knowing the right people, having access to finance and so on. On the other side of the platform, we have employers who we help to connect to that group of young people who are coming into the workforce, who have so much to offer, but for whom it can be sometimes quite difficult for employers to know how to engage and reach out to. So we support employers with their hiring process to make sure that they are doing the things that are going to reach those talented, diverse young people that we have in our community.
I know the SortYourFuture.com platform, and it is quite impressive the way that you actually assess people's interests and then point them towards these different career opportunities. And the fact that you're able to offer access to what is really the high value potential of these people. This is a really hard to reach demographic. What are you going to do? Advertise on TikTok? I mean, I want people to come along. You want access to these this young workforce. Where else are you going to get it? Well, SortYourFuture.com, available at a website near you today. Back on track. What are you reading?
Sorry.
What's at the side of your bed?
I read really widely. I'm a great believer that you can learn as much from fiction as you can from non-fiction. So non-fiction wise, I try and read a couple of things that are on the book list each year. I've just read Case Study by Graham McRae Burnett. I think in terms of learning, there's a lot of people who say you can learn pretty much everything you need to learn in life from Shakespeare. Well, I would say yes, but also you might have more fun if you tried the same thing with Terry Pratchett, who I think is an incredible writer and covers the gamut of yes, excellent. The gamut of human experience, and you can learn a huge amount about leadership, about running a business, about politics from Terry. In terms of nonfiction and business books, I'm a huge fan of stuff that's evidence-based. I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's very opinion-based, and I would go with things like Brene Brown. I would recommend anything from her. And I guess if you want a standalone, if you had one business book to buy in your life, I would say BE 2.0 by Jim Collins and Bill Lazier would be top of my list as a guide or a go-to for strategy, for leadership, for entrepreneurship, any of those.
BE 2.0, Jim Collins. I love Collins.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think mine would either be The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker from 1967. There's a reason it's still in print.
Yeah.
Or even older than that, not necessarily business, but the book that I give away most, and I think I've got like 4 copies here. I just keep buying them and giving them away. Whenever I see them in secondhand stores, I buy them because it's a great gift. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie, 1936. Yes. Still in print. Books that are over about 50 years old, they're going to be around for a while. Pratchett has been around, I hate to tell you this, 1981.
Really? Wow.
My goodness. I've been reading him since I was 4 years old. That's a true tell. Sam Vimes can teach us so much. Such a wonderful cynic. It was there's a great, we'll chop this out, sorry, but I love Pratchett. I went to his obituary service. They had this great service in the Barbican when the entire family was there. Oh, wow. Neil Gaiman was there, the whole guy, everything. Neil got his hat. Wonderful. Oh, and that was the moment that Neil Gaiman found out he had to, because he was being asked to, make Good Omens into a movie.
Oh, wow.
That was cool. What do you want to thank your younger self for doing?
So I would say that I've always been able to make those big decisions when they needed making, and I'd like to kind of thank myself for doing that and for not bottling those decisions. So that may be when a job hasn't been right for me, or there's been something that I've really, really wanted to do that I have found that where I am at that point I wasn't doing. So, I've quit jobs when I've needed to, and I've taken on new challenges, whether that's study or moving to another part of the country. One time I quit my job and bought a round the world ticket and went because I knew that I needed to make a clean break. And I think those moments where you could stick and be really unhappy, I've always made the decision that may have been hard in the moment and hard for a little while, but that paid off later on down the line. And I think that's something that I would always look back on without regret and with a level of pride that I was able to do that.
The real pursuit of happiness, and the original meaning of pursuit and the original meaning of happiness.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very nice. Thank you very much. And well, then lastly, just to wrap up, how can people find you?
Well, I'm on Twitter as @Lucy Griffiths. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm /Lucy Griffiths UK. And you can also find my TED Talk, How Designers Can Transform Education, by searching on YouTube.
Lucy Griffiths, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
A pleasure.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me today. Your homework: subscribe and share this with a friend or colleague. Please leave your 5-star review and any comments you have, because that really helps me to improve every day and it helps people to discover me online. If you want to upgrade your leadership skills in 25 minutes, you should check out practical-leadership.academy.